Hello everyone, welcome to this webinar where I will be reviewing Microsoft's Edge web browser and what it may be able to do for you. I'll be giving you a brief history of browsers and how we got here at the top, and then I will do some comparisons between Edge and Google's Chrome browser, including features, performance, and security comms. We'll end with some demos of a few of Edge's coolest features. First off, let me introduce myself. My name is Glenn Wilson, and I am a Cloud Systems Specialist at Optistar Technology Consultants. Optistar is a managed service provider specializing in offering customized business solutions to our clients. This is the second of our planned series of webinars aimed at helping you get the most out of your IT tools, and maybe even introducing you to some other tools you may not even know you already have. After this webinar ends, if you believe Optistar can help you with your IT needs, feel free to visit our website at optistartech.com, or for more information, you can even call us at 888-782-7003. See if we can help you to live on the edge. Now, let's get started. Let's hop into Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine to get started. We'll journey all the way back to 1995 when I was still in college and Microsoft was certain that they would be ruling the computer world forever with their fabulous new operating system, Windows 95. Now, most of us are familiar with the original Microsoft web browser, Internet Explorer. Famously, or maybe I should say infamously, Microsoft was very late to the internet wave of the 90s and just did not see the benefits in including a web browser with Windows 95. Eventually, they saw that light, and they also saw that this internet thing wasn't going away, and that there was an opportunity for them to play a big role in its growth. Thus, the creation of Internet Explorer and its eventual inclusion in an upgrade pack for Windows 98 and then being built into all future versions of Windows. IE itself would be around through 11 versions, but it has always been a mixed blessing for end users. Microsoft had developed a software framework known as ActiveX, which gave developers the opportunity to create some really cool stuff on web pages, but was also proprietary to Internet Explorer, which is why so many websites you used to visit required Internet Explorer in order to work properly. As the internet has moved on from ActiveX towards better, more open technologies, IE saw its usage plunge, and eventually it was overtaken by Google's Chrome browser and relegated to being used only when still needed for old ActiveX software. Officially, it was retired on January 21st, 2015. But it is still installed in Windows 10 machines today in order to maintain backwards compatibility for any sites that may still require ActiveX. Now, that was our trip in the Wayback Machine of the early browser wars. So let's move along to Microsoft Edge. Edge was the successor to Internet Explorer. Released in 2015 with Windows 10, it's used a variation on the familiar E logo that gave it some connection to its predecessor, so much so that when Windows 10 first came out, most of the end users I worked with just assumed Edge was IE. In reality, Edge was a complete rebuild of Microsoft's browser, but in true mega company fashion, Microsoft had not learned from its previous mistakes. And originally, Edge was built on its own proprietary framework known as Edge HTML. And while it had significant improvements in performance over Internet Explorer 11, Edge never saw much growth in its share of the web browser market. In 2019, Microsoft released its much anticipated new version of Edge. This time, they had reworked the icon again into a sort of blue-green wavy letter E. It also looks a little closer to the Google Chrome logo, and that is intended because the new Microsoft Edge is built on the same open-sourced foundation tool called Chromium. It's this version that I plan to discuss with you. So if you still have the older icon on your computer, you may want to reach out to your IT support about getting that latest version of Edge installed on your computer. If you don't have IT support to help you do this, you might want to reach out to Optistar, see if we can fix that for you. Now, you can install the latest Edge browser on Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, your Xbox, even on Linux operating systems. Pretty much whatever system you use today, there's a compatible Edge. Now, if you're not familiar with the Chromium Foundation code base, I'll give you a quick primer here. Chromium was or is an open sourced software principally developed by and is still maintained by Google. The code is used by Google and now Microsoft to make their web browsers. You would think of Chromium as the concrete slab under a home. It's the code foundation that allows you to build all the cool parts of the house that you actually use and live in. Likewise, Google built its Chrome web browser using this same Chromium foundation. In fact, the name Chrome for their browser makes sense when you think of it this way, since chromium metal is used in chrome plating. So from chromium, you get Chrome. But Google attaches a lot of bells, whistles, even a few more bells to the basic foundation to create their browser, which is used by 66% of the world today. By comparison, Microsoft Edge is only used by about 10% of the world. Now, when they redesigned Edge, Microsoft chose to use this same free open sourced Chromium code as their foundation. And as such, the new Edge has more in common with Google Chrome than it does with Internet Explorer 11. So any comparisons of the two browsers comes down to a comparison of those unique bells and whistles. Each has applied to their same basic foundation. So how is the new Microsoft Edge better than Chrome? And where does it still maybe lag behind its more popular cousin? Let's begin with some basic tech comparisons. And for the record, I'm only going to focus on the two browsers running on the Windows 10 operating system for today. So my conclusions will be determined from those versions of the browsers. Now, the number one job of any web browser is to obviously browse the web. So the most logical place to start with comparisons between Chrome and Edge is to ask how they each handle general browsing. While there are cosmetic differences in how the icons look in each, because of their shared genetics, the reality is that they each operate about the same when browsing web pages. In short, if you switch from Chrome to Edge, you'll notice very little difference in your everyday browsing. One noticeable difference, though, of course, is the default search engine and homepage. Edge, of course, defaults to Microsoft's Bing, naturally, while Google defaults to Google's Google popular search engine. This is not too complicated to change in either case, so it's really just a minor nuisance at best. What about performance? While Chrome narrowly beats out Edge in several industry benchmark tests for speed, it's not enough to be really recognized in day-to-day usage. These are both very fast browsers when you get right down to it. But Edge does have one significant advantage over Chrome: memory usage. Chrome used to be famous for how little RAM it used. That was its primary advantage over Internet Explorer and helped to explain its rapid growth into the most used browser on the internet. But these days, it's become a much more bloated product. In a side-by-side comparison recently performed by Tom's Guide on identical systems, Edge used 873 megabytes of RAM to open 10 pages, while Chrome used 952 to open the same 10 pages. As the number of tabs increase, so does the RAM usage discrepancy in favor of Edge. Now, Chrome does make a slight recovery if you split 40 open tabs across two separate instances of the browser, but that's a rarity, and it just loses to Edge by slightly less in that instance, so not much of an improvement. I've also seen performance tests where Edge way outdoes Chrome when it comes to memory usage. So the results from their testing show that using Edge could make a big difference on systems with limited RAM. This makes Microsoft Edge the winner in this category for me. When it comes to security, Microsoft had the most improvement needed since IE was infamous for how easily and therefore how often it was attacked. With Edge, they show that they may have actually learned this lesson. The new browser runs entirely in the sandbox, and old, vulnerable technologies like ActiveX aren't even implemented at all in the new browser. Edge also uses Microsoft's Smart Screen technology, which analyzes web pages and warns if you're trying to visit a suspicious-looking site or about to download a file. that isn't well known and widely deployed. These are both potential red flags for malware. Edge also keeps things simple with this three-tier privacy control. The basic protection setting blocks only the most malicious tracking technologies, while the default balanced setting also blocks cookies from sites that you haven't visited. This reduces the likelihood of your being spied on by hackers and aggressive advertising networks without interfering with personalized advertisements and links from the websites that you do actually frequent. Now, the strict setting blocks almost all cookies, although Microsoft warns, and they are correct, this might cause problems with some sites. You can also choose to apply this setting only to in private windows, which is Microsoft's equivalent of Chrome's incognito mode. Now, Google Chrome isn't quite so inherently secure as Edge, but again, it does run its browser processes in a sandbox, and both feature built-in warnings against dodgy websites. Both also aim to steer you away from phishing sites, and untrusted downloads are blocked. An additional feature that Chrome has, though, that isn't yet available in Edge is its built-in password checker, which warns you if you log into a site using credentials that are known to be compromised, giving you a chance to change your password before someone else gets into your account. It can even help you generate a new, harder to guess password and automatically log you in the next time you visit that site. Now, Chrome doesn't do an awful lot to protect your privacy by default, but it does send websites a do not track message, which tells them that you don't wish your activity to be monitored and recorded. Note that this is only a request, and it can be completely ignored by more unscrupulous operators. The browser also alerts you when a site wants to use your camera or microphone to access your location. You can grant or deny these permissions on a site-by-site basis so that untrusted servers can't take advantage of these resources. Edge does the same thing as far as the do not track request, and also prompts you for location, camera, or microphone. In fact, all of the major browsers, Firefox, Opera, all of these are designed with a strong focus on security, and they all receive regular automatic updates to close any newly discovered holes. Overall, Microsoft Edge is probably the safest choice since it was coded from the ground up to meet the security demands of the modern web, and it contains very little in the way of legacy code that could be exploited. Let's take a look at some features. First off, the immersive reader and web collections. So feature-wise, Microsoft has some tricks up its sleeve that Chrome doesn't, and a few that work in both browsers, like Microsoft's Editor extension, which is a writing assistant that uses artificial intelligence to keep your writing up to snuff, or the Read Aloud feature, which we'll discuss here in a moment. Let's take a quick look at two of the unique features of Microsoft Edge, the immersive reader and the web collections. So I'm going to begin with the immersive reader. Here I have an article about the immersive reader and how to use it. Problem is the site hosting the article is full of ads and other distracting pop-ups that are preventing me from actually reading the article. Now, the solution is the immersive reader feature. If the reader is available on this page, you will see an icon in the address bar. This one here looks like a book with a little speaker on it. Now, clicking this icon, or alternatively pressing F9, function 9 on your keyboard, will turn on the immersive reader mode and instantly clean up your reading experience. You can even select the option at the top here to read aloud.
How to use immersive reader on the new
Microsoft will begin
Microsoft
reading
Edge
it to
browser.
you.
Source, Windows Central.
Very helpful. You can even choose different voice options with different languages. You can control the speed. All of those things are available to you when you're inside the immersive reader. You can also control text preferences as far as making the text a little bigger if you're having trouble seeing it. You can set spacing, wider spacing to make it even easier to read, and you can even choose from a variety of different themes as to how you want your contrast between the text and the background to seem. Some of this looks very old web, right? I kind of like it, a lot easier to read, especially for old fellas like myself. Now, let's talk about web collections. Web collections. So, if you are like me, you may have certain websites you visit quite often, and you might like to have easily available to open either one at a time or all at once. Enter the web collection. This feature is only available in Microsoft Edge, and it can be a great time saver. Let me show you how it works. I'm going to create a web collection of just search engines, okay? Just search engines. So here I have Microsoft's favorite, Bing, open and ready to go. I'm going to open my collection by clicking on this button right here. It looks like it's a couple of squares with a plus sign on it. And it wants me to start my new collection because I don't have one. Normally you would just see this if you've already started using the feature. So I'm going to click there. And I'm going to call my collection Search Engines. And I want to add the current page because it's the first one I'm adding to it. There we go. So now Bing is part of my search engine collection. Now, if I wish, I can go to our old favorite, Google. Now when I click on collections, I can see search engines here. This is one of my collections. If I just click this plus sign right here, now there are 2 items in there because Google has been added to my collection of search engines. Now, when I'm inside this, one of the beauties and the benefits of this is I can come up here to click this 3-dot menu and say open all. Now, if I have 15 different sites in my collection, it will open every one of them for me and get them all open and ready for use. Pretty helpful, pretty useful. This is a great way, especially if you start your day in one site and then you need to move on to another site and then another site, and you know the sites you're going to be going to. You might as well have your collection available. Simply go in, tell it, I want to open all of my sites right now. Now that is Web Collections, another awesome, cool feature built in exclusively to Microsoft Edge. Let's move on to our next one. 2 other features I want to show you are vertical tabs and Chromecasting ability. Now, the vertical tabs are only available in Microsoft Edge, and if you're one of those people who always has too many tabs open at one time, but can still never find the tab you need, and you know who you are, then this feature alone may be enough to convince you to move to Microsoft Edge. Let's see how they work. So in this example here, you can see that I have overdone it a little with the open tabs in my Edge browser. There's a lot up here. Now, maybe you're a tab professional and this seems pretty light to you, but either way, it's not going to be easy to make out which of these tabs is the one I want to go back to, especially if these tabs are all coming from the same application or the same website. Now, Microsoft Edge allows you to redirect these tabs to the side of the page as vertical tabs. This way it makes them easier to read and then presumably also easier to find the tab you're looking for. Let me show you how you do this. First thing, you're going to come up here to the top and click on this 3-dot menu here in the corner and then select the settings icon, which is down here next to the sprocket. Now in settings, you're going to go to the appearance tab and you want to scroll down just below customize toolbar. Here's the option, show vertical tabs for all current browser windows. You can turn it on or you can turn it off here. I'm going to turn it on. It's pretty instantaneous, just like that. So now my tabs appear on the left side of my screen and they have full writing on them, so I can actually see all these tabs I have open. And if I have more than will fit on this screen, I can scroll up and down between them. So if you really like to abuse your tabs, this is an easy way to be able to do it. Now up at the top when you're scrolling here, there's a stick pin. If I stick this, this will allow it to stay here, all right? That way I can continue to work and have all of my tabs fully open beside me. I can always come back to this little chevron, collapse the pane, and go back to the hidden option where they only appear when I hover my mouse over them. It gives me more real estate to work with. So that is vertical tabs. Now, Microsoft Edge also has the ability to use Chromecast built right into it, which previous versions of this browser could not do. Now, let's take a look how you would do that. Once again, we have our 3-dot menu up at the top. And this time we're going to come down here to where it says More Tools. Now, more tools, we want to select Cast Media to Device. Now, if you already have a Chromecast either attached to your TV that you wish to present on, or if the TV has Chromecast built into it, which many TVs today do, then that TV will appear right here on these tabs. You can simply select the one that you want, and it will begin casting to that device. Now, it's going to pick whatever tab you are currently in. So you do have the option down here on Sources to choose what it is that you wish to cast. By default, it wants to cast the tab that you are in. Now, in one bit of counterintuitive design flaw here, you have to choose your source before you do your casting. So in this case, I've already started, so I would need to stop this cast, come down here, change to say, I want to cast my desktop. Now I choose my device, and when I do, it's going to prompt me, which of these screens do you want to share? And do you want to share your audio? And that's it. Once I select one and click share, then that will be what my computer is now casting towards my TV. When I'm done, and I don't need my presentation to be cast anymore, I simply come back up here again, tap the device I'm casting to. That will end my presentation. And there you have it. Now let's move on to some apps and add-ons. So one big advantage that Chrome used to have over Edge was the availability of extensions for the browser. Extensions are apps or add-ons that extend the power and capability of the browser. Chrome had a big advantage because it was so widely used that developers would usually create extensions for Chrome before any other browser in order to try and get their app as widely distributed as possible. Now that Edge is built on the same Chromium base, however, Microsoft can make almost all of those Chrome extensions work in Edge as well, which gives you access to a lot of the old Chrome extensions, plus some of the exclusive extensions that are only available in Microsoft's extension store. So let's see how these might work with a couple of suggestions. I'm working with Outlook and Office 365 in my demo. Okay, from within the Edge browser, we're going to click on our old friend, the three-dot menu again up here in the top corner. We're going to select the extensions option, which you'll find right here. Looks like it's got a little puzzle piece right beside it. Now you can see that I have already installed the Microsoft Editor extension, and from this window I can edit the settings for that extension. Other extensions, as you add them on, you will also have the ability to manage, edit them, turn them on or turn them off, all from right here inside the extension manager. Now I would like to add the Outlook extension so that I can manage my email from my browser without having to go back to the actual Outlook program. You know, that whole work from one place idea. If I click this blue button right here that says Get Extensions for Microsoft Edge, I will be magically transported to Microsoft's Edge add-ons page. Now here I can look through a variety of useful apps and extensions for my browser. If you can't find what you're looking for, well, back on the extensions page, Microsoft provides you with a handy link to the Chrome Web Store, so you can search for compatible extensions there as well, especially now that the two browsers are built off the same base. Essentially, anything you can find on the Chrome Store is very likely to also work on the Microsoft Store. So the extension I'm looking for, though, is right here on the Microsoft page, so we're going to come back to here. Let's return to that page and look for Outlook. Now, it is currently the most popular add-on, so it's right here on the front page, but you can also search for it by typing the name into the search bar. Now, I'm going to search for it. There she blows. I've got the Outlook. Now, in order to use it, I simply need to click on this Get button right here. I'm going to be prompted where it's going to ask me, do you want to add this extension? I'm going to say yes, add the extension, and it will put it up here on my toolbar. So now it is right here. Now you can see it's grayed out. In order to actually use this extension, I will need to click on it and sign in. I'm prompted to, it's on another screen, but I am being prompted to log into my Microsoft account, which I'm going to do, and there you go. My email is entirely available to me from within here. I have a pull-down menu on the side here where I can choose the folder that I wish to look at. I'm going to stick with my inbox for now. I can read the email messages by simply clicking on one. I also have the options to reply or forward these emails, even delete them from here, and a few other options on our old friend, the three-dot menu. Now, also my calendar is available to me down here, and my contacts and my tasks and to-dos would be available to me from within here. There's even a button up here at the top, very noticeable, barely noticeable. When you click on it, it will actually open an Outlook into a full screen for you if you need more space, more real estate in which you need to work. Essentially, this just opens up the Outlook Web Access tool. So with that, now I want to add my other option. My other option on here is the Office extension. Now that one I'm just going to go right here to Editor's Picks where I know it already sets, and I'm going to click on the Get and the Add extension. And once again, it's going to add it right up here on this top toolbar. And once again, in order to use it, I'm going to need to actually sign in. It's going to prompt me. I'm going to log in. And now that I am in, it gives me this handy dandy user's manual. I'm going to close that for now and just show you by clicking on the Outlook extension up here, I have access to all of the web versions of my software. I can come into any one of these, such as Excel, start a new workbook, work on a template. I can also work, if I had recent items, they would appear here, and I can start working on them, collaborating once again right here within the Outlook web environment. I can run other things such as Teams. I can access SharePoint sites. I can run any of these apps using this extension added simply to the top. Essentially, this gives Edge the ability to run the web versions of the entire Office suite if you're a licensed to use them. So let's wrap up our webinar, get back to the main screen. So honestly, there's so many cool tools built into both of these browsers, Chrome and Edge, that I had a hard time narrowing down my demo options for today. But that does bring me to the end of the webinar. And before we wrap up, let's answer the big question. Should I be living on the Edge? I have to say, personally, I'm impressed with the new Microsoft Edge. It has all the features I need, even a few I've never had before, and I look forward to discovering how they can help me get my work or fun done faster. Truth be told, I think the answer to that question really comes down to how you use your browser. Security, privacy, and performance add up to kind of a draw when you get right down to it, but if you frequently access Google apps such as Gmail, Google Drive, or any of the Google Apps suite, well then Chrome's probably your best option with all of its built-in access to those sites. But if you use Microsoft's Office 365 platform primarily, then Edge definitely has, well, the edge. And I would encourage you to look into swapping Chrome for Edge. I'm in the process of moving over myself. I can say that it's not a difficult process since the two browsers are so closely related. It's mainly retraining the end user, me in this case. So if, like me, you too would like to maybe start living on the Edge, then reach out to us at Optistar, see if we can help you to do it. If we already manage your IT needs, then you already know how to reach us. If we don't, then you can feel free to contact us at optistartech.com or call us at 888-782-7003. Thanks for your time.